If you're looking for an incredibly affordable way to level out your 2020 or newer JT Gladiator, excluding the Mojave models, this Mammoth 2.5-inch front leveling kit will be a great way to do it. Now, this will be a great pick for the JT owners not looking to completely swap out their suspension, but want a mild lift in the front to improve their ground clearance and fit up to a 35-inch tire for some better performance off-road or overall aesthetics on-road. Now, 35s here are going to be your recommended size. However, they are going to require some trimming inside the wheel well. As you can see, we did have a little bit of rubbing with that 35 installed. So if you're not looking to do any modification, 33s are going to fit in the wheel well very comfortably and will be your best bet. Now, this kit will feature front spacers, bump stop extensions, longer sway bar end lengths, and front shock extensions, so you can ensure that not only are you getting the lift, but also accommodating for that extra height for factory-like drivability. Now, the spacers themselves here are going to measure out true to 2.5 inches, which will again provide you some better clearance for improved approach angles and create more of a defined stance overall, eliminating the rake or slope that you get in the front right out of the factory. Now, this kit is very straightforward when it comes to the construction, with steel spacers for the coils, steel sway bars, and steel shock extensions for the best durability. Now, the bump stop extensions here are going to be made of a solid, thick plastic construction, which is going to hold up very well to the hard impact of the bump stop. Now, most of the kit will also have that black powder coat finish on top to protect the steel underneath and last for years to come. Now, when it comes to the bushings on the sway bar end lengths, those are going to be made of a rubber material, which will provide comfort and improve longevity over the factory to resist any cracking over time. Now, this kit as a whole will come in at about $150, again being an incredibly affordable solution to level out your truck. Now, compared to other solutions on the page, this is going to come with a bit more, which I really like. Now, this will allow you to accommodate for that added height and keep a comfortable drive without having to outsource for any additional components to achieve that. Now, not to mention, this is going to come with a lot of quality in the components that you're getting as well, making this kit well worth that $150 to completely transform the way that your JT looks and performs. Now, this kit is going to be a 2 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and with the right setup and tools, you should be looking at about a 2-hour job to get it done. At this point, we can head over to the shop and check out a detailed breakdown of the install step by step. So that's going to wrap it up for me. Let's go ahead and get into it.
The tools you're going to need for this install include an impact, a 1/2-inch air gun, an electric or regular 3/8 ratchet, a 19, 18, and a 9/16 wrench, a needle nose pliers, an 18 and 15 millimeter swivel sockets, a 19 millimeter impact socket, an 18 and 18 millimeter shallow and deep sockets, a 14 millimeter socket, and a 1/2-inch extension. You'll also need a spring compressor, pole jacks, and or jack stands. What's up, guys? Today we're going to be installing a lift kit on our Gladiator, but before we get started, you're going to watch a short video on how to uninstall your stock components, and I'll meet you back here for the install. First thing we're going to do is remove our shock. We're going to use an 18 millimeter socket and an 18 millimeter wrench. So now we can take our 18 millimeter swivel socket and our 18 millimeter wrench and remove this bolt. To make the bolt come out easier, we could raise up our pole jack so it levels the bolt out with the mount. Now we can move it up to the top. So now moving to the top, we're going to remove this bolt with our 18 millimeter swivel socket. So we can push our wheel well out of the way. We can remove our bolt. Hold your shock. And now your shock is removed. Now we can take a 15 millimeter swivel socket and remove our brake line bracket. Set that off to the side, and we can thread our nut back on. So now we're going to remove our sway bar end link. We're going to take our 18 millimeter wrench and our 18 millimeter swivel socket and remove these two. So now for our top nut, it's going to be the same process as the rear. We're going to take our 18 millimeter ratcheting wrench, slide that onto our nut, then our 6 millimeter Allen key. We can insert that into the stud. Now we can remove our nut. Now we could remove our tools. We're gonna remove this using our hand. Now you can repeat that process on the other side. Now that your shocks and sway bar end links are removed on both sides, we're gonna remove our track bar. So we can take a 21mm swivel socket and a 13/16 or a 21mm wrench to remove this first bolt. Now we can take our 21mm swivel socket and remove this bolt. Make sure that you hold your track bar because it will fall. Now your track bar is removed. Next, we're going to remove our four-wheel drive actuator. So we can pull out on this white tab and press down. Now we can remove. Now we'll remove our breather tube. We can take our needle nose pliers, press down on our clamp. We can work our breather tube off. Now we can remove our coils. So now we're going to evenly lower our pole jacks so we can remove our coils. Now we're going to come under and slowly lower down our axle. Now we can remove our coil. We can bring down our rubber grommet too. Now you can repeat that process on the other side. So now that your coil is removed from the vehicle, we're going to pull down our rubber grommet. There is 2 alignment pins on here that you're going to have to cut off. Then once those are cut off, we're going to grab our spacer and line these slots with the pin. And we can slide that up through our bump stop. You hold that in place until we compress our spring. So now we're going to compress our coil. There's various different types of coil compressors, but we'll be using this style. So for this style, we have to wrap our hooks around the parts of the coil and press our pins in. Good. And then you can grab a 19mm socket and an impact, and we're going to tighten this down. So now in the same process of getting your coil in, we're going to slide our bump stop in so we can get our top hat lined up. Get that up. Then we can slide our bump stop into the coil and over top of our mounting place. We're going to make sure that the end of the coil will line up with the end here. You can twist that once the compressor is off. So now we're going to grab a 19mm socket, an extension, and an impact, and loosen this up. Pull out our pins. And remove our compressor. So now that your spring is lined up and in place, we're going to tighten down our bump stop so we can take our bolt with the smaller threads, our washer, which will go over top, and we can slide this through into the hole, of the bump stop. Then we can take our nut and thread that on through the bottom. Thread that on by hand to start. So now we can take our 14mm socket with our ratchet and our 9/16 wrench and tighten our bump stop down. Now your bump stop is in place. So now we can install our shock extension mount. So it's going to slide up over our factory location, making sure that this curve is aimed towards the front of the vehicle. Going to line up our first holes and our bottom hole. For the bottom to secure our mount, we're going to take our small bolt, put that through, our washer, and our nut. Thread that on. Then we can take a 14mm wrench and socket and tighten this down. And now for our first hole, we're going to reuse our factory bolt and nut, and we're going to slide our new press-in fitting to go between, so you can slide that through, thread on your nut. Then we can take an 18mm swivel socket and an 18mm wrench and tighten this down. Now we can get our shocks into place. We have to raise our pole jacks up evenly. Raise it up on this side. Now we can slide our new bolt through. Come up a little bit, there we go. Then we can take our large washer and nut and thread that onto the back. Then we can tighten that down with our 18mm swivel socket and our 19mm wrench. Now you can repeat that process on the other side. Now we can reinstall our brake line bracket. You bring this over, put the hole into the stud. We can thread on our nut. And we can tighten that down with our 15mm swivel socket. Now you can repeat that process on the other side. So now we're going to install our new sway bar end links. So we can take our factory nut and bolt and put it into the top. Thread that in, making sure that when you tighten your nut, it is never on the bushings itself, it's on the sway bar. We're just going to leave that hand tight till we get the bottom in. Now for our bottom, we're going to be using our new bolt and washer. We're going to slide that through the bushing into our mount where you're going to thread in your nut. So we can tighten our top up with our 18mm socket and our 18mm wrench. For the bottom, it'll be our 18mm socket and our 19mm wrench. Now you can repeat that process on the other side. So now we're going to reconnect our four-wheel drive unit. We're going to press it in till you hear it click. Then you're going to push in this white tab. So now that all your new components are installed, I would recommend going through and torquing all your nuts and bolts down to factory specs. Then after that, I would recommend going to your local shop and getting an alignment. So that's going to wrap up the install on our Mammoth 2.5-inch front leveling kit for your 20 and newer Jeep Gladiator JT, excluding Mojave. Thanks for watching, and for all things Gladiator, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.